What are the country's top CEOs doing to build extraordinary teams and cultures who thrive even during a pandemic? You're about to take a deep dive into the minds of wildly successful C-suite leaders who are evolving the way that we work in the 21st century. Welcome to this special edition of How to Be Mesmerizing. Hey everybody, welcome to How to Be Mesmerizing. It's Tim Shurr, and today in our special Mesmerizing CEO Secrets series, we are talking to Danielle McDowell. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tim.
It is a treat. So Danielle is Managing Director of 76 Forward at 16 Tech, which people that are involved with technology and entrepreneurs in Indianapolis, Indiana, where we both are located, know what that is. So all the information about Danielle is in there. She's a very powerful force in Indianapolis. She's been connected with the startup community for many, many years and is also a successful founder of a business. She created a business and sold it. And so let's talk about that first. So Danielle, not only are you a powerful collaborative force here in Indy with the startup community, you're also an entrepreneurial disruptor in the beauty supply industry. So tell us about your former company and how you created such a ruckus in the beauty industry.
So ruckus is a great word for that. I appreciate that. I think what's interesting about, looking at the beauty industry, my business partner and I really took a look at where the opportunities were and identified that there was a really great opportunity specifically in the beauty industry to be able to allow for beauty professionals to market themselves more effectively. Mm-hmm. We saw that Angie's List here in Indianapolis was doing a good job with that, with people like plumbers and contractors and things like that, but they really weren't addressing this beauty professional market. And so we really went after it to see whether or not we could build a platform for, these beauty professionals to be able to market themselves more effectively. And as we dug deeper into the industry, we learned that there was really two, major beauty product distributors that were the major players, not just here in the U.S., but throughout the world. And those two players are L'Oreal and Sally Beauty. Mm-hmm. And so in doing that, we started identifying, what does it look like to have a product go from being not just created, but also manufactured and then distributed. And then how does it get to your hairstylist? And then how does your hairstylist market it and promote it to their clients that sit inside their chair? So in identifying, what that full product cycle looked like, and then also, trying to understand a little more as to how that impacted, that hairstylist who is not just an end consumer, but also essentially an ambassador a lot of times for a brand. We saw a huge opportunity to be able to bring the beauty industry, closer into, this world of internet, whether we're in 2.0 or 3.0, wherever we are, saw this opportunity to bring beauty products, in and market them and distribute them in a different way.
Yeah.
So after building a platform for hairstylists to market themselves, where they created profiles, we essentially bolted on a content engine where we were pushing out up to 20 articles every day, specifically about hair. We had about 35 bloggers all over the United States, of whom, would write about their experiences with their own hair, how they felt about it, how different trends impacted them. They would talk about different ways that they, utilize different products. And then as we were talking more about those products, we identified that, there was really an interesting distribution market for specifically professional grade hair products. Mm-hmm. And, this is back in like 2012. And so if you went and looked at the back of a shampoo bottle, of which was a professional brand, you would notice that there was a little tag on the back that said, this is only, valid if it's purchased through a professional beauty hairstylist. This is from a licensed professional. And so what was happening is there was this essentially a what's called a diversion market. And so there were folks who were essentially selling these products. They would warehouse them and then sell them to eBay and Amazon as individual sellers, or they'd even sell them to groups like Walgreens or Target or Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you saw those products, they actually did not get there through the appropriate distribution,
Channels. Mm-hmm.
channels. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
They got there through diversion. And so when we were meeting with a company called L'Oreal, they told us that this was a $1 billion problem that they had. And we said, great, we have a solution. Not only do we have this network of hairstylists all over the country, we had thousands of them at that point.
Mm-hmm.
We also had this platform where we were talking about products to consumers. And so we essentially said, great, we will develop an e-commerce platform that will allow us to market the beauty products, and then to be able to drop ship them. And then finally, we'd be able to give a commission to that hairstylist so that they can participate in that, share of the profits. And so, which is, how that original distribution model was built, was ensuring that, hairstylists were representing those products. And so we built a platform, an e-commerce platform, where hairstylists could not only recommend products to their customers, customers were able to go on, find their hairstylist, and then also purchase the products directly. And so as soon as we did that, Sally Beauty came knocking on our door and said, we feel like you guys opened up the notes that we had for developing what an e-commerce platform looks like, and they asked, are you guys interested in being acquired? And we said, yeah, that sounds great. So in 2013, the business, at that time, it was called Jada Beauty, was acquired by Sally Beauty. And today it lives on as Loxa Beauty, and that IP is still, in that distribution cycle.
Wow, that's amazing. One of the secrets of success is finding that $1 billion problem, right?
Yeah.
What is the biggest problem that people are struggling with? And then how do we solve that problem? And you saw that and took advantage of that opportunity and had a huge, supplier say, hey, let's work together. And that was very smooth and very short. I know that there was a lot of bumps along the way, and you had a lot of people trying to take you out and take you down because you were doing something that wasn't traditionally done by both of those companies, Sally and L'Oreal, until they realized, at least Sally realized, that you weren't going anywhere and you had opened the door, and found a solution. And so they were smart in acquiring you.
Yes. It was an interesting time. I mean,
yeah.
You and I had talked previously, and I shared a story about how, we were in a position where we had launched this e-commerce platform, and, our team, really was not, we were not in the beauty industry. We went after this idea because, we saw a problem. We knew that there was a better way to provide that solution. There was a better way to get these products into the hands of consumers. And, no one was out there solving the problem. And so, what better, great businesses are always born, with a problem in mind. When you're solving a problem, the ability to, launch and deliver a product is just significantly, your rate of success will be significantly higher. Yeah. So for us, as we sat there, in our small office in central Indiana, we were, just a small team of, 4 or 5 people. And we had, products that we had purchased pretty much at cost, in our back storage area. And we were getting orders in, but, nothing crazy. And, here we got a knock on our door one day and received this, big manila envelope that essentially was a cease and desist letter from some of these big brands. And so, what's interesting is that, you can tell this story of, what the path to success looked like, but there were definitely some bumps along the road that we had to overcome. And so, when we received that cease and desist letter, we knew that, we knew that we weren't breaking any rules. We weren't breaking any laws. There really wasn't a lot of, there wasn't a legal leg to stand on for this company. However, if they were to pursue it, it would have stopped us dead in our tracks. There's no way that, a small, very a venture-backed company would be able to incur the legal bills that, something like a large beauty brand would be able to. And, one of the it was a woman who, worked for a very large beauty brand, of which, a lot of people would know. It includes one of the founders, the mixture of two of the founders' names. And, this man has gone on to be, a multi-billionaire. He's a phenomenal entrepreneur, but he had hired a former FBI agent to work on this problem of diversion specifically for his company. And this woman called us one day out of the blue on our phone and said, I want you to know that we're watching you. We see what you're doing. We really know that you are not breaking any laws. You're not breaking any rules. We can see that you're acquiring these products through legitimate channels. And we want you to know that, this is a really interesting solution. So, if there was really no solution except, hey, just keep in mind that we've got our eye on you. And it was a very interesting time. When you are sitting in a small office, in a strip mall in central Indiana, and you're getting a phone call from a former FBI agent telling you that you're doing
by a billionaire brand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a little rattling. It was a little interesting, but yeah.
But you held tight though. And those are the best kinds of stories, right? It takes an amazing amount of guts and grit to be able to handle so much uncertainty and so many challenges. But that's what, visionary people do. We keep believing that it's going to work out somehow in some way. And that's what you did, which is pretty amazing. So you've been embedded in the Indianapolis startup community since around 2006. And so what drew you into wanting to work with and eventually running these entrepreneurial ecosystems?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, what really pushed me into it was, a sheer love of, solving big, hairy problems. I love looking at a really complex issue and identifying different ways that teams can come together and collaborate. And even if it's, teams from, different companies, I think that, being able to solve some of these, large scale issues and drive growth is always something that has just really, really been a focus for me. So I was an athlete, born and raised as an athlete, and I've always been very goal oriented. And I've always had, some sort of, there was always some sort of end game, when you're on a team, there's a championship or, a PR that you're working for. And that's just how I was raised. And so as I started to transition into the business world, I actually started working for the Pacers here in Indianapolis. And it's a great organization, great culture. However, the job just really didn't fulfill me. I identified very quickly that the role that I was in, specifically in inside sales, where I didn't feel like I was making an impact. And, I wanted to be a part of a team where, where I knew that the work that I would do would be directly impacted by the business. And so that's where I really started plugging into the startup community. I met a man named Scott Jones, who has been a phenomenal mentor for me. And he essentially showed me the path on what it looked like to architect a technology business, and have do a venture raise and identify different ways that, you can build technology businesses. And so while I was there, I really started, we really started as a team, we started plugging into the Indianapolis community. And Scott has always really been a big proponent of identifying different ways to lift up Indiana. And so that definitely rubbed off on me. I started seeing, a lot of different, technology businesses that were starting to pop up. But as I got a little bit deeper into the industry, I also started identifying different ways that, where some of the issues were. And a lot of it, spurred from the fact that, while we did have convening organizations, there weren't true ecosystems that were being built. And, I think that some of the work that, these entrepreneurial ecosystems, groups like the Speakeasy, groups like Launch Fishers and Launch Indianapolis, groups like Tech Point here in Indianapolis, these groups have, always been looking out for different ways that Indianapolis can advance not just the technology industry, but also the entrepreneurial industry. And so, I'm not sure how many of your listeners, know this, but Indiana specifically ranks, some studies will show you 47th, some studies will show you 48th in the amount of entrepreneurial businesses that are started here in the state. 48th out of 50 states. I mean, that is pitiful. And when you start looking at, different ways that we can be impactful, entrepreneurism is by far one of the ways that you can, someone can change the trajectory of their life. That is the best way to create generational wealth, not just for you, but for the people, and also create freedom for yourself. And so, I truly believe that entrepreneurism is the path that, the single path that can really pull someone, out of poverty and be able to give them opportunities. And so different ways that we can not only teach people about entrepreneurism, but encourage them and give them the support systems to be able to start their businesses is something that I'm very, very passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah. My wife and I both, our dads worked in the steel mill, and they were both electricians. And, we went to college, and I was the first one in my family to go to college. And then I was in psychology. And so the career path was you worked in a hospital, until you're maybe 50, and then you open a private practice. Well, I decided to become an entrepreneur at the age of 25, and that's when I opened my practice. And so instead of starting, I'm 51. So instead of starting my practice, now I've been in practice for 26 years. And so, so being an entrepreneur has, if you are ready for an experience like that, it will take you down a path that can really make dreams come true.
It really can.
Yeah. So from 2015 to 2018, you were the executive director of the Speakeasy, which was a member-based nonprofit organization here in Indy that brought established businesses and entrepreneurs together to create healthy entrepreneurial ecosystems that allowed for creativity, collaboration, and education. So what was it like running the Speakeasy?
Oh, it was an honor. It was honestly one of, the favorite times in my life. It is such a unique community and a unique network of people. What was interesting is some of the investors that invested in the business, Jada Beauty, had also been the founders of the Speakeasy. And, I knew that there was this desire to create this burgeoning ecosystem of not just tech entrepreneurs, but also, supporting the entrepreneurial ecosystem at large. So whether that looked like supporting not-for-profit organizations or, what I would call Main Street businesses, or even restaurants and different service style industries. Those are the groups that we were able to support. And, what's interesting about the Speakeasy is, we had just a phenomenal group of people that were very, very passionate about what the Speakeasy represented, and the freedom and the, ability to connect with people was just outstanding. And, we had this really phenomenal core group of members that just cared deeply and passionately about not just the Speakeasy, but the ability to create that community. And so that was my first exposure to what it looked like to truly create an ecosystem and what that meant. And so when you start looking at, ecosystems, maybe you think of something like a rainforest ecosystem, right? Where you've got, weather that impacts the ecosystem. You've got plants, animals, soil. You've got, microorganisms, that are all this part of a very, fragile, but beautiful system. And so, you've got different groups that support and give, and then you also have different groups that will, take and give in another way. And so that is exactly what I was able to identify at the Speakeasy is that, you've got these not just entrepreneurs, but you also have the supporting organizations that it takes to help lift up those entrepreneurs and help them be successful. And then underneath the entrepreneurs, you have a whole team of people of whom, are part of that business and pushing it forward and, working on different skill sets and passions on their own. And so it was just a phenomenal experience, and also one, where I was able to learn about what innovation hubs looked like. And so, we had this very unique system that was focused on all different kinds of entrepreneurs. And I started running across, so my board came to me and said, Danielle, we'd really like to open up another location and start creating a hub and spoke system here in Indianapolis where, we can connect not only with this community that we had in Broad Ripple, but also to start to grow a larger community downtown Indianapolis, and then also connect with other ecosystems across the city and in the suburbs. And so I said, great, this sounds awesome. And, my first inclination with a challenge like that, I always, hit the internet and do my research. And so I ended up running across a body of work, specifically out of Stanford, of which started talking about what innovation hubs look like and how to drive entrepreneurism, really intentionally drive entrepreneurism and really intentionally figure out how to, spur specifically innovations and patents and new businesses. And so, that's really where I was able to identify, what the makings of an innovation hub might look like. And I got really, really excited and really, really passionate about that. And so in 2017 is when I was on a panel with the current the past CEO of 16 Tech, and I was announcing the fact that we were opening up this downtown location, and I was talking about, how to build this ecosystem and how to build this community, and that we were able to pull in a university and different public sector supporters and bringing them to the table. And, sure enough, I was sitting next to Betsy McGraw, and she had said, yeah, we're getting ready to launch, 16 Tech, which will be Indianapolis's premier innovation hub. And as soon as I heard that, I knew that day that this was something I wanted to be a part of. So ecosystems are interesting and just as unique as the rainforest.
Yeah.
We're here trying to build a community.
That's right. Building communities. So, capitalism can breed fierce competition, yet most entrepreneurs recognize that collaboration leads to faster breakthroughs and more rapid growth. So what are your thoughts on this? And do you have any examples of startups, companies who were collaborating together in these tech communities, that you've been running?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a great example of one that's happening, here in 16 Tech at 76 Forward. We have a group of which are, really diving into the analytics sector. And specifically, big data is something that, I don't know that anybody's really been able to wrap their arms around it. Nobody has, solved that problem, if you will. And data is something that, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are a small, business that is, selling widgets on the side of the road, or if you are a big, organization like, Facebook or Microsoft or IBM. Data is something that touches every single business across the board. And so, we have an organization here of which is a project we call Analytics In. It's housed here in 76 Forward at 16 Tech. And our goal is to be able to put major research universities up alongside large businesses to see whether or not we can intentionally, one, solve big problems that are coming down the pipeline, specifically in data and analytics, and two, can we intentionally create a community and a talent pipeline here, on this campus and here in Indianapolis to serve the businesses that are, growing and are rooted here in Indianapolis and in the state of Indiana. And so, a great example is, we have a group here, IU Health. It's run, they have a cybersecurity lab here. It's run by a man named Nick Sturgeon, who is just delightful and awesome and very, very dedicated to his craft. And we were able to run a program. We work alongside a group called BioCrossroads, which is located across the street here at CICP. If you'll notice, one of the key things is that all of these businesses are, have some sort of association physically here with this space. So that's really important. And so what we did was we had what we called a kickoff meeting, where we brought all of the leading professors from IU, Purdue, and Notre Dame here to Indianapolis, or we had them Zoom in. So hybrid is one of our specialties. We're have to embrace that, right? That's critical.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we brought them here to Indianapolis, and then we brought in some of the major, leaders from some of the major corporations, and we started looking at big, hairy, audacious problems and said, let's put it out there. Let's identify what these problems are and see if we can't really, go through a process where we intentionally not just create solutions, but also build a bigger network of people of whom are associated in studying this and, solving these problems, so that we can then identify different ways that we can not only serve, the businesses here in Indianapolis, but, you have to imagine that there will be some pretty new innovations that come out of that as well. So we've got some interesting ideas that I have to say that inside this session, I'm pretty sure that there were probably 20 or so new businesses that could have been created just from this, 3 and 4 hour meeting that we had here on site. So it was really a unique experience to be able to witness.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example. Collaboration is essential, even if it's just within your own organization. I would have people take a look at some of the problems that they were having, and then we would pull people from all different departments. Instead of saying, well, this is just a merchandising issue, or this is just a shipping issue, or just a sales issue. We were pulling people in from every department. And when you do that, you get ideas. And just like, with your communities here, you pull in people from different industries, and you think, well, they're not even a part of our industry. Yeah, but they're looking at it from a completely different angle. And that's what gives you more pieces of the puzzle, that it gives you those aha moments and those exciting breakthroughs. So very cool. So now you're currently you're the managing director of 76 Forward, and they exist to create a world where anyone with the entrepreneurial drive can gain equal access to the resources needed to foster innovation and solve real world problems, which I love. So tell me a little bit about 76 Forward and what the plan is for perhaps the next 5 years.
Yeah. So 76 Forward is an amazing organization. It was founded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And, it's gone through a couple iterations. We focus in not just on spaces and space operations, but giving people access to the opportunities to become an entrepreneur. And so really what that looks like is we not only provide physical space for somebody to come and, the ecosystem for somebody to plug into, but then we've also been really focused on creating and curating curriculum of which will educate and be able to ramp somebody into a scenario where they're able to, essentially it's removing barriers to entry. So it's being able to educate someone on how to ramp themselves into starting that business faster than if they were to go it alone. So we put on a series of programming. We do generally about 2 to 3 accelerators every single year. And then we also have a national network of entrepreneurs, of which we, both tap into for advice as well as support in creating their businesses. So We have about 60,000 people all over the United States who have kind of, raised their hand and said, I'm very interested in being a part of this network. So it's not just people from our physical locations, but it's also, people inside of this network of whom are very interested in supporting entrepreneurism across the United States as well. And so, the other thing that I think is really unique about 76 Forward, it is a women-owned business, and the executive team is all women, which is really an interesting and unique, prospect, right? Yeah. And so it's something that specifically. Entrepreneurism and women in business has been something that's been a passion of mine, that I speak about. And one of the things that I love to say is that diverse inputs will create diverse outputs. So when you bring a group of diverse people to the table to solve one of those big, hairy problems, the likelihood of you coming up with something that's truly innovative and something that's truly disruptive increases dramatically when you have different people from different backgrounds at the table. And, I think that one of the things that 76 Forward focuses in on is making sure that we're not only supporting, people who are, whether it be women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses, that we're not just giving them a seat at the table, but promoting and focusing in on their stories so that we're able to create and cultivate that access to opportunity. So it's a really great organization. Not only do they have big goals, but they also have some really great operational chops. So we've been able to open a 56,000 square foot location here in Indianapolis. Wow. We opened in April, and January 1st we'll be at about 70% occupancy. So it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Wow. That's very exciting. So how can people learn more about you, Danielle, and 76 Forward at 16 Tech?
Yeah, so here in Indianapolis, the best place to visit is the 16 Tech. It's 16tech.com. You can go there and learn about the building that 76 Forward is located in. So we not only have this co-working and fractional office space, we also have a phenomenal food hall, of which the majority of entrepreneurs inside of that are new entrepreneurs and minority and women-owned businesses. But we also have a makerspace inside of our building as well. So 16tech.com, it also talks about the district and the big plans that we have. This will be a 10-year project that we're embarking on, so it's really exciting. And you can hit the 76 Forward website directly from the 16 Tech website, and you're able to see what 76 Forward looks like, specifically nationwide. And you can book a tour. I'm just a link away, so you can book a tour with me right on that website, and I would love to host you here at our location.
Outstanding. Danielle, thank you so much for being a mesmerizing guest today. This was absolutely wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon.
Same. Thanks, Tim. I look forward to seeing you here at 16 Tech.
Yay.
Awesome. We'll talk soon.
All right. Hey, it's Tim. You ever wonder why so many talented, hardworking entrepreneurs and business owners struggle with inconsistent self-belief or high stress or procrastination or self-sabotage? Well, the answer may surprise you, and the solution is already inside of you. I've been searching for the answers to this for decades, and I found them, and I put it into a new program called The Power of Your Unconscious Mind, Mental Secrets for Accelerating Success. And because you're a listener, I want to give you a free VIP copy. Head over to PowerMindsetProgram.com. That's PowerMindsetProgram.com and grab your copy today.